Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Pitch Track Chronicles. This is where fans become family. I'm Uncle Taz. I am here with Rob and Donald. And big shout out to my brothers on the post-game show after the game last night. Thank you for everybody that checked it out to get their initial response to Game 2. But we'll be doing a little deeper of a dive, getting into a couple of things that we would change to solidify more of a dominant lineup because there are some weaknesses. But before we get into that, if you are new to us, just make sure you go hit that sub button so you can join the chat. Hit that like button and share this out with everybody that you know. The channel has been growing and it's going to continue to grow, not only with us, but with all of you on the family as well. So we do appreciate everybody that tunes in with us day in and day out. But we do have...
Who doesn't want this beautiful cup? Sub up so we can get this cup. There you go.
I like that. Sub up for the cup.
Sub up for the cup. That's it. That's the new tagline. Sub up for the cup. There you
go. I really like that. We might have to talk behind the scenes about what we could do for the members of this family to give them their a little. Maybe we'll do like a free merch type of thing for some of the subs, some of the family members that have been riding and dying with us since day one. But we'll get into that at another point. The point I do want to make is that we have a 2-0 lead in a division, in a championship series, and it's without us looking our best. And I think that's telling about the grit and the grind of a baseball season. And if one guy is not kind of pulling the weight, there's somebody there going, I have your back. We'll figure it out. It doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to be a win. And I think that's the mentality these guys have been taking.
Spot on,
Pizza. I believe me. I heard that. I was laughing my ass off. I think that has to be one of John Sterling. If that was his last call on the radio, that just makes him even more legendary than he was.
He's the GOAT. He is the GOAT.
But with that, let's go into the issues with the base running, because we have seen the last couple of games where pitchers are kind of blocking the way. Although I kind of give credit to Cleveland for realizing where he was standing and turning the base to make it look like an interference rather than just running through for a single. That was a heads-up IQ play on Cleveland. But we also did have the Jazz. He's done nothing. And then he gets picked off. And at that point, I'm going, he's going to cost us this freaking game. Because we needed some insurance runs. Because it was just a matter of time before one of the bullpens completely imploded. And I'm going, I can't watch. Aunt Tat said she's not watching baseball with me anymore. She goes, you're going crazy. It's a baseball game. I'm like, you don't understand. But
he doesn't understand.
She's like, she's really concerned about my blood pressure and my heart rate. So she really wants me to go for a physical because I get all red. And anyway, like, when you make mistakes like that, of course we're going to lose our freaking mind. You have to where's the baseball IQ on these guys? It just doesn't make any sense.
Hey, Uptown Sports. Yo.
What's going on, Heck? Listen, Hector, I want you to give me a call later. I'll text you after the show, let you know when I'm free. We got to catch up, shoot the shit. But
exactly. Don't make him drive to your house and take you let's not do that. Let's just watch the Yankees and talk about it.
No, but it drives you absolutely insane that they keep making these mistakes. And what sucks even more is we're up to nothing and we're still pissed off about situations. That just shows how real of a fan we are. But it's also I can't take the stupidity anymore. I really can't.
Stupid stupidity.
Rob, how are you feeling about it?
Look up. Woo.
I'm a lot more tame than you, clearly, apparently,
Yeah.
because I'm happy as hell right now. We're up 2-0 despite this stuff. I mean, the way you were talking just now, you thought we were down 0-2. They're winning despite these things. Yes, things need to be cleaned up. We talked about this a lot yesterday. But the fact that they're winning despite these issues tells me that this team is better prepared than we might have thought they were, because they didn't look very good the first couple of games against Kansas City. They looked pretty meh. They looked kind of too relaxed, but it seems like since then they've picked it up. Now, not everybody's picked it up, but certainly even with those issues, the fact that we're scoring 6 runs and 5 runs the day before, we're winning these games, the pitching has been great. We can hopefully eventually get rid of these base running miscues, even though we've been talking about it all year. But if we keep winning games, it's not going to matter. I think that we're looking at one guy that needs to really step up right now, and that's Jazz. Because if he gets going with his bat, I'm not really too concerned about other guys in the lineup needing to pick it up, like Austin Wells. I just need him to catch at this point. Just need him to catch the game that he's been catching, and I'm fine with that. But if Jazz starts to hit, we know when he gets on base, that speed is a killer, especially in October. I just need him to be smarter on the base pads, and we talked about this a lot yesterday, what it could be with him. But I mean, we're playing good enough to win baseball games in the playoffs. This team would not be winning these games 2 years ago. It would be 2-0 Cleveland or whoever we're playing. But this team is a little bit different this year. So, I mean, yeah, things need to be cleaned up, but I'm going to be. The alternative is being down 0-2 or tied 1-1, and we're up 2-0. So just hope that they clean it up for Game 3, because I talked about this a lot yesterday. I don't want to give Cleveland any sort of opportunity to come back, because they're a team that can strike very quickly. We got to hit them while they're down, and the Yankees got to get their heads out of their asses in some aspects. But for the most part, they've played good enough to win these games.
Donald?
I use the analogy in our postgame show like it's like a boxer dazed against the ropes. That's what the Cleveland Guardians are right now. That's what the Yankees have to do. Just knock them out. I'll have to say I'm not that impressed by the Guardians. I think I overrated them, honestly, because I think that they are a supremely flawed club. They looked overawed by the occasion. They made a ton of mistakes first 2 games, especially yesterday. Dropping a pop-up like Luis Castillo style in the infield that led to a run, and even dropped a pretty reasonably comfortable fly ball to right field. Dropped that too. They made a lot of mistakes, and they've gotten themselves out far more than the Yankees have. So, as Lou says, are we playing good enough to beat the Mets or the Dodgers? That's irrelevant, because all we have to do is be good enough to beat the Cleveland Guardians. Then we can worry about the Mets or the Dodgers. Do we need to up our game? Sure. But I far prefer to be up 2-0 with a few things to clear up than down 0-2. So there's far more positive than there is negative. For instance, our pitching is freaking remarkable. That's what we need to be talking about. Our pitching staff has been great. Clay Holmes, playoff Clay, playoff Glaber. Fuck that. How about playoff Stanton? Playoff G is a real fucking thing. So there's a lot to be happy about. And the great news is that Aaron Judge hit a home run to Monument Park. You know how much that's going to help him in the playoffs moving forward? That was huge.
Big weight off his shoulders on that.
Huge weight off his shoulders. So another really cool thing, I was really impressed by Aaron Boone's post game. He was just like, on to the next one. That was it. It was just like, yeah, well, we've done 2, that's cool, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. need another two. He's not getting ahead of himself. So he's obviously very much in control this postseason, and that's been a marked difference than previous postseasons with Aaron Boone in charge. He seems very much in control, and that steady kind of hand that he's providing, you can see it's translating through the locker room, because by and large these guys have been fairly steady. They've won every single game bar one in the postseason. That is not easy to do. That is really not easy to do, and they've done that. So shout out to them. Now, obviously, there's an element of the fact that the Royals and the Guardians are not really on our level, but we still have to take care of them. And so far, we've been doing that.
Yeah, I think one of the things is, if you look at the run, some of the runs that have been scored, it's off of the other team's incompetence, not our ability. We've been able to take advantage of a lot of mistakes. I mean, the wild pitches we were talking about, and at that point, being heads up on the base paths, when Stanton's able to score on a wild pitch standing up, I mean, that just shows how, I don't know if it's a lack of focus from Cleveland or just their pitches are just really worn down, because they've had to use a lot of arms and they've relied on their bullpen a lot. And there were people, I'm sure he'll be around later, but was saying that their bullpen is going to be our nightmare. And it hasn't been, because we've been able to get to the starter really early where they haven't been able to stay in the game. So you're seeing, even with the day off today, their bullpen really needs a resurgence, because the Yankees have had the extended at bats. The issue is, although, you don't expect, like Damian said earlier, you can't expect 1 through 9 to be clicking all together, but maybe a shuffle of some pieces in the lineup might get people going. We had said, why don't we just switch? I'm not saying, we don't want to bench Wells, because he's been doing fine behind the plate, but maybe just a simple switch of him and Stanton in a lineup, with the 4-5 spot. Maybe that takes a little pressure off of Wells and he could relax a little bit. Maybe having somebody hot like Stanton in the postseason helps Judge see better pitches. So it all ties in together. So when you get with the lineup, is that something that Boone seriously, not even just kind of just for the hell of it, is moving Wells out of the cleanup spot something that Boone seriously needs to think about?
I guess it depends on who we're going up against. If we're facing a lefty, you probably make that switch just to have Stanton behind Judge. But if not, I think you just, at this point, maybe you flip Wells and Rizzo. We mentioned this yesterday.
Okay.
I don't want to mess around with the lineup too much, because it's been the same lineup every game, with the exception of who was playing first until Rizzo came back.
Yeah.
So if we are facing a lefty, it's still showing to be determined on basically every site. But if it is Boyd in Game 3, then I think you can go Stanton in the 4 spot and just put Wells 5th, or maybe even put Rizzo 5th. But yeah, I get that as well, Medina. That's what I'm saying, because the way that, if you listened to John Boy a few days ago, he broke it down like teams like to have, at least at the top of the order, righty-lefty, righty-lefty. Because when you game plan as a manager for your bullpen, you can't really be, I'm going to bring in this lefty to face back-to-back lefties. That's what they have Verdugo, Rizzo at the bottom of the order. They don't really do lefty-lefty in a row or righty-righty anymore. A lot of teams will go one after the other, or lefty-righty, righty-lefty, whatever it may be. So they want the strategy. That's why I don't think they're going to change it. I think, if anything, you'll see a flip of Wells and Rizzo before we see Stanton go to the cleanup spot. It would make sense to have Stanton be Judge's protection, but with the way Rizzo's swinging the bat, that flip could make more sense, because Stanton's going to be Rizzo's protection, Rizzo's going to be Judge's protection. That's going to make Judge see better pitches. And we know that Soto's going to get pitches to hit because of Judge hitting behind him, although Cleveland intentionally walking Soto to face Judge yesterday was certainly a choice. It worked out for us and kind of worked out for them because it was only a sac fly, but more times than not, he's going to make you pay for that move. I think just a simple flip of those guys will be the better option. I don't want him to tinker with the lineup too much because we're still winning games, and that's the most important thing. If we were losing, if this was 1-1 or 2-0 Cleveland, then you probably think about changing it up a bit. But right now, I don't think you got to do too much. I think you keep it where it is or just put Rizzo where Wells is and vice versa.
Yeah, I want to pull up a couple of comments on the discussion. We got Consigliere swapping with Rizzo may take the pressure off of Wells, which is something that I've been thinking might get him to just kind of refocus a little bit and not have to force the issue of being judge's protection in the cleanup spot. But I also like this comment from Fats 1927. Fats, welcome back to the chat. We haven't seen you in a while, so I'll pull this up for a minute or so. But I like Rizzo down below to turn things over to Verdugo, hitting afterwards, much more dangerous than Wells, constantly striking out in the 8th spot. And it leads me to the question: should the change be with Rizzo, somebody who hasn't seen life hitting in a while, but has been extremely effective at the plate? And it seems like he hasn't missed a beat. Do we want to take him out of his rhythm because Wells is out of his? I think that's something that we can discuss for a minute.
That's a good point. It's just that Rizzo is a professional. He's been there before. He's got the World Series. He's got the playoff experience that Wells doesn't. So at the same time, though, like Hector brings up, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right now, it's not broken. The lineup is still producing. It's not as good as it can be, but it's still producing. The thing with Austin Wells is, I said it yesterday, his first game of this postseason, he was really good. He drew a bases loaded walk. He had an RBI single. Ever since then, it's like a completely different player. He looks lost, and he is striking out a ton. And you combine that with the fact that another lefty in our lineup, Jazz, is not hitting as well. It's like, shit, we really can't match up very well against a righty because 2 of our lefties aren't hitting. But at the same time, he might need just one good swing to get him going because that's how October works. Look at Aaron Judge. He had a couple of good swings in Kansas City, and his at-bats have been a lot better ever since. It might just take one good swing from Austin Wells, and next thing you know, his at-bats are better. I don't know if they want to mess with too much because, again, it's working. And all we really need Austin Wells to do right now is catch a good game. And that's what he has been doing. He's catching a fantastic game behind the plate. And I think eventually he's gonna get a big hit, whether it comes in game 3 or 4. But I like that Aaron Boone is sticking with it, though, because in the past you probably would have saw Wells get sat down for Trevino at this point, whether it had been yesterday or the day before. I like that Boone is letting the same lineup come out every single day and saying, this is our best 9, let's play them every single game. And I respect that from the manager. I've talked about Boone a lot so far this postseason. I can't really find anything to really nitpick. There's a couple of things you could be like, that could have been done differently. But overall, he's doing everything that we've asked him to, especially in the playoffs. This has been by far his best managed postseason, and he's had a few of them with us already. This one, even if we don't win the whole thing, this is clear as day his best managed postseason. He's doing everything we've asked him to. So I think we keep it the way it is unless something has to change. But right now, I don't think anything has to change.
It's something that, it's fun to discuss, but I think when it really comes down to it, and a lot of, we said it, everybody in the chat is saying it, on social media, and I think Hector's right. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. We could try to fix things. We could hit that panic button and be like, all right, it's time to shuffle things around. But until we get until the dam completely breaks, I'm not pissed. I can't blame Boone for wanting to keep running it out because it's whatever I don't know what Boone decided, what changed him. He has been very consistent. even with the moves in the bullpen, and I have to say, Holmes has been pretty freaking impressive. This is the Clay Holmes we saw at the beginning of the year, that when he was lights out. I think the pressure with the closing role has been a gift to him. And Weaver just doesn't seem to care when he pitches. He's just going to do what Weaver does. And his faith in Weaver to be the closer this postseason has been amazing. Weaver has been just the guy. I think he's been the key piece to this bullpen, because it's almost like that, the early years of Mariano. Just get the ball to Weaver, sit back and cross your arms, and that's it.
What do you think, Donald?
Oh, yeah. I could have gone to Starbucks and come back. Okay, so first of all, Austin Wells, since September 11th, he's batting .074, 5 for 68. So over his last 100 at-bats, he's batting like a 120. So regarding Austin Wells, he needs to be moved out of the cleanup spot, because let's be honest here. He's not doing any favors to Aaron Judge. And that's the most important thing. You need to give some protection to Aaron Judge. You need to get better protection for Aaron Judge. Because if you're going to have a scenario where, as we saw yesterday, where they actually intentionally walked Soto to pitch to Judge, because they figured, you know what, if we get Judge out, we've got a pretty easy out in Austin Wells following him. And that's a strategy we need to take away from the Cleveland Guardians. So the way to do that, Anthony Rizzo. As Rob points out, they like the matchups. They like the lefty-righty matchups. Aaron Boone always talks about lanes, bullpen lanes. That's one of his big things, bullpen lanes, and that's exactly what that is. If there's a situation where there's just a whole line of righties, then that's a lane that the Guardians could exploit. They want to make sure that doesn't happen. So I understand the lefty-righty. So best way to do that is to have Anthony Rizzo back up in the cleanup spot and Stanton bat fifth. Then you can have Jazz sixth, Austin Wells 7, or Austin Wells 6, Jazz 7. Doesn't really matter. Neither of them are hitting. So there's a lot to like about the fact that the Yankees, like, for instance, they lead the postseason in walks. They lead the postseason in hard hit percentage. They're hitting the ball hard. They are. They are getting on base at a ton. I think they're number 2 in the postseason in OPS. So the numbers are there, but for some reason it's not translating to runs. And the reason it's not translating to runs is because we keep finding Austin Wells in these spots, and he keeps not coming through. We can't afford to have any passengers. Not at the cleanup spot. So they need to move him down, right? As I said before, if Joe Torre can move A-Rod to 8th in the batting order, now it didn't work, but he still did it. Because he doesn't, at this point, there's no time for egos in the postseason. There's no time for, oh, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. Oh, I don't want to hurt your feelings. You're so important to us, blah, blah. There's no time for that. This is the postseason. It's win or go home, Win the series or go fuck home. So Austin Wells is a rookie. He'll live. Move him down. In fact, it'll probably be beneficial to him because he'll probably get slightly better pitches to hit. Because right now, in between Judge and Stanton, he's obviously not getting good pitches to hit, and his at-bats have been terrible. So move him out. Move Rizzo up. I mean, I understand that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, it is kind of broke because we are missing a lot of opportunities. We don't hit with runners in scoring position. We just haven't flat out hit at all runners in scoring position this postseason. And a lot of it is because of Austin Wells. So I'm not putting it all on him, but when you're in these situations, he needs to come through. He's not. So let's change that up a little bit, and you'll probably do a little better. His catching has been excellent. His pitch framing has been phenomenal. His work with the pitchers, his pitching staff, phenomenal. That's all without a doubt. And it's really cool that Aaron Boone has shown trust in him in that regard because he's not turned to Trevino, which is great too. So all of these are positive things. It's just I think he benefit from moving down and moving Rizzo up. And let's talk about Anthony Rizzo, man.
Yep.
I'm talking about championship pedigree. You talk about leadership. That is Anthony Rizzo. Anthony Rizzo is a leader. He's a leader of man out there. You can tell, man. There's work behind the scenes with Oswaldo Cabrera. There's work behind the scenes with Birdie to have them play at a decent level at first base until he was ready. That says a lot about his leadership, his mentorship. And since coming in, I mean, it's not easy to have a situation where he's not faced live pitching much in like over a month. And to come in the ALCS and start balling, batting 500 in the postseason with a 1,000 OPS, it says a lot about who this man is. This man is absolutely has championship pedigree, and we don't have a lot of that in this roster. So he's underrated. That's why it would almost make too much sense to move him up. Professional at bats in between Judge and Stanton. So that's the way I do it. Salute.
Well, I think what it leads to is this. Although 1 through 9, there's always going to be a couple, 2 or 3 guys that just aren't in their rhythm. But if you break it down by thirds, if you look at the 1, 2, 3, you have Torres and Soto just playing out of their minds at the plate. Their at bats are insane. Then when you look at, with Judge, he looks like he's just about ready to just break through and just embarrass everybody. And then then you go 4, 5, 6. You have Stanton in there. So there's your strength in the middle of the order. And then if you have Rizzo batting 8th like he has, then you're 7, 8, 9. There's your strength with Rizzo. So at every portion of the lineup, you do have that guy that's going to make you pay for any mistake. So maybe when you break it down break it down that way, there's no need to make any changes. Just let's just let it ride, until they're forced to make a move.
Taz, stand on your own opinion. You started off saying we need to move Wells off, and now you're like, nothing's changed. Like, what's happened?
What I would do?
27 minutes.
No, if you move Stanton and Wells, that would be the only adjustment I really would make at this point. But if you want to keep every section of your order a strength, if you want to divide, out of your 9, if you want to divide it, you want to have a strength in each spot. So maybe moving Stanton out of the 5 spot is not the best idea.
I just think you're overthinking it. At the end of the day, we need protection.
I'm definitely overthinking it. It's the postseason. I overthink
absolutely,
everything.
but I think
opening day, I'm overthinking it.
I think it needs to be as simple as let's provide the best protection for Aaron Judge because that's going to help us. Better pitches for Aaron Judge means better results for us. It's as simple as that. So I think Rizzo does that. Stan does that.
I wouldn't put Stanton 4th. I wouldn't do that. I would if I'm making any switch, it's Wells and Rizzo. Just flip them. But a good point that was just brought up by Fats. Rizzo's been helping turn the lineup over. So do you want to take that out of the bottom of the order? Because then it's kind of a black hole down there. Because if Wells isn't hitting, Verdugo has been getting a hit every so often. They've been big hits, but it's not like he's tearing the cover off the ball. And Volpe's been pretty solid this postseason, but we know he can easily go 0 for 4 and look very ugly at the plate. Do you want to have that be at the bottom of the order? Where at least when you have Rizzo down there, he is having good at-bats at the bottom of the order, so it does kind of level things out. This way, that 7, 8, 9 is not an easy out for whoever is pitching against us. So that's what I think Aaron Boone has to think about. Do I make my lineup so top-heavy with the top 5 that 6 through 9 are going to be a breeze, and I got to pray that we can just survive until the top of the order comes back up, or do I keep it the way it is where it's still kind of top-heavy, but we have a better at-bat towards the bottom of the order? So I think you could flip it and you'd get better at bats for Judge, but if with just that one home run, now they might have to pitch Judge differently because now they're like, shit, he's starting to see the ball because he hit the sac fly. He is making contact. He's not striking out left and right. He could just be. He could have just needed that one swing to go over the wall, and now he's going to be Aaron Judge again. So that might make Cleveland think about pitching him differently. And knowing that Stanton is locked in when it comes to October, you make one mistake to Austin Wells, he can make you pay. So he's one mistake pitch away from turning it around as well. So I don't know what they're going to do. I just don't think they need to switch Stanton and Wells. If they're switching anybody, you switch the lefty for the lefty. But that makes the top of the lineup better, but it makes the bottom of the lineup very questionable. It already is questionable. That makes it incredibly questionable. That's what Aaron Boone has to think about.
Let's talk about Garrett Cole's outing.
Yes. Let's move to the starting pitching.
Yeah, I thought that I thought by and large Cole was fine. I thought that he showed that he had balls of steel to get through Rocchio's at bat, where it was like a 10-pitch at bat, and it was an absolute battle. I thought, tip the cap to Rocchio. He saw every pitch, and he was right on them. He was fouling off some incredibly difficult knuckle curves. And he was staying in the at bat, and I was like, "Oh shit!" As each pitch goes on, you expect, "Oh no, is he gonna, find a gap somewhere?" But no, Cole stood on business and got the out. That was key. Once he got that out, that was in the fourth inning with the bases loaded. Once he got that out, I was pretty confident that we'd see the game through. But I wasn't expecting him to load the bases in the fifth. Very surprised. I thought after 4, I thought Cole was going to easy cruise through 5, maybe pitch well into the 6th. I'm surprised that this happened to him. What did you see, Rob, that changed, say, in the first 3 innings, which he was pretty comfortable, to that last inning, the 5th?
Just seemed like he got in his head a little bit, his own head, because once he started missing spots, it's like he couldn't stop missing spots. And that's very un-Cole-like because he's a guy that can get himself out of a jam easily with just here's some fastballs, try to hit it. Or he'll set you up with 2 98-mile-an-hour fastballs and hit you with the slider or the knuckle curve. Just seemed like he had nothing working for him once a little bit of traffic got on the bases. And that concerned me because this is the second start now in this postseason where things have kind of almost fallen off a cliff for him. And you don't want to see that from your ace. Now, luckily, he didn't make a mistake pitch that cost us the game. He was able to get out of it, but it was just weird that he was giving up so many free passes. And I was like, that's not Cole, because Cole's not going to walk a lot of guys when he's on. And he only had 4 strikeouts, and he needed like almost 90 pitches to not even get through 5. Like, that's not Garrett Cole. So I think he was, like Medina says, he's his own worst enemy because it seems like he's getting in his head. It's not the batters that are getting in his head. It's like he knows he's got to make the pitch, and if he can't make that pitch, it's like he's getting himself frustrated. We know Garrett Cole's his biggest critic, his own biggest critic. He's not. No one's going to be more critical of Garrett Cole than Garrett Cole, but I thought he was getting in his own head, and that's what cost him a few batters in those last 2 innings because he looked great. And the same thing happened in that first game. He looked fantastic, and then as he got later on into the game, he kind of labored through it. Now, he got through it both times, but he had to labor. And I do respect Aaron Boone for pulling the plug before it got too bad. Even though that's your ace, you want to ride it out with your ace, but you can see that the guy just did not have it anymore as the game went on. And he had to pull the plug on him, but he battled. He absolutely did battle, Spencer. I'm sorry, Spencer. We know your name's Spencer. But he battled, but it was a little concerning that this is 2 out of 3 starts that our ace has not been the ace. Like Rodon's start, we got to get into Rodon. Rodon was fantastic.
Yeah.
But I was hoping to see Cole kind of match that, but hey, we did win the game, and hopefully, I think Garrett Cole is going to be a lot better his next start because when he has a bad start.
Do you agree with Greg here? It seems Cole is still fearing his injury. I don't see that.
I don't think so.
No, because his last start, he pitched with no issue. Like he was just going. Yeah, he was outstanding. That's why I feel like he's going to come out in his next start and just be angry that he made mistakes in this last start, and now he's going to pitch like an absolute monster again. That's just how
Yeah,
Garrett Cole is.
I don't see him favoring an injury because we're overlooking the fact that he was just awesome against the Royals. Um, I do agree that I think he's slightly got in his own head a little bit, and there's also possibly an just the fact that he put so much energy to get out of the bases loaded situation in the fourth that he might have been a little spent going into the fifth. I think that's also an element as well psychologically. So yeah, let's. I don't think it was a big deal. I was perfectly happy with Cole's outing. It
No,
was
I
Aaron
think
Boone. Yeah,
finish up.
it was just that Aaron Boone managed it very, very well in that situation. It was a right call to go with Clay Holmes with that sinker, and it played out exactly as you could have hoped to get out of that spot.
Yeah, I think Calder's overanalyzed his approach to that lineup because they are very good. Cleveland has been very good with hitting the fastball. Because if you see in the deep counts, when they were showing the breakdown, it was a lot of off-speed pitches that he was throwing. I just think he was trying to hit the corners. This wasn't really hitting his spots with the knuckle curve. I think his sinker was just sinking a little too low, and they were laying off of it, which really deepened the count. And I think he just got a little nervous about, or I would say hesitant about throwing his fastball and them catching a mistake because they do hit the fastball extremely well on that team. So I think it was just the way that him and Wells worked the approach for the lineup just kind of backfired him on a little bit. But I expect to bounce back. But luckily, we were able to get the outing from Rodon in game one that kind of set the tone where Cole can be himself, can still win us a game without being as dominant.
Was this Rodon's best outing as a Yankee? It was easily his most important outing. I thought this was the start that Rodon had all his pitches working. His slider was absolutely electric. It was like illegal in 48 states how good that slider was because it was a wipeout slider. It was like a John Chamberlain-esque slider. If you're going to go back in time, that's what it was like. It was vicious, and it was the perfect put-away pitch. What I was seeing from Rodon is he was establishing that fastball. He was absolutely hitting the gun with 96, 97 miles an hour, painting the corners with that fastball, and then a wipeout slider. And he was just electric. That was a different Rodon, man. That was a Rodon that was standing on business.
Yeah, I think with Rodon, I think he definitely took his own advice and took a page out of Cole's book. And you just saw he just was a little more patient, a little more calculated in what he wanted to throw. And the result was probably, I'm going to say, yeah, this was his best outing as a Yankee. I also think it was his most important because game one, you have to set the tone. And he stuck to his mental plan of controlling his emotions, and having a 1-2-3. Don't go all berserk and chanting on the mound. All right, my work is done. Let the bats go, and let me get ready for the next inning. I think he had a very more patient approach, and I think that was the payoff. Was his best outing.
I was so happy when he got the call for game one because we're paying him $27 million. I need him to earn every penny of that salary that he's got. And that's exactly what he did. And he's supposed to be the 1A or the 1B behind Garrett Cole. That's why we got him. It was supposed to be Cole and Rodon. This is what we asked for in a playoff series. Now, we had to flip it this time around because Cole started the last game against Kansas City. But I saw a lot of people like, it should have been Schmidt, it should have been Heel. That felt like 2022 when they started Tyone in game one against Houston. And it just did not feel like the right call. This was the right call, going with Carlos Rodon, because this is why you're paying him the big bucks. It's no disrespect to Clark Schmidt or Luis Heel, but Carlos Rodon's supposed to be your second ace of this staff. If he's ready to pitch, you pitch him. and he did absolutely. He did. It's the best. It's the best start he's had. No, that answers the question. 1,000% the best start he's had in a Yankee uniform because it's the playoffs. It's the ALCS. It's the first game. It sets the tone, and he wasn't going crazy after that first inning. What's up, Will? And he absolutely shoved. And this is exactly what we envisioned when we signed Carlos Rodon. Him starting a big playoff game, striking out 9 or more batters, and going berserk afterwards and saying that's why we gave him the big bucks. He answered the call. And I was damn glad to see it because he wasn't great in his first start against Kansas City. He wasn't terrible, but he wasn't great either. But this start, he was phenomenal. And he absolutely answered the call that we needed him to answer in game 1. And hopefully we'll see Garrett Cole bounce back in his next start. And we see Clark Schmidt do the same thing tomorrow night. We see him come out and kind of follow Rodon's lead. But we needed that from him because, again, he's the 1B. He's the second ace behind Garrett Cole. And he pitched like it. That was a fantastic game. Best game by far. And hopefully his next start will be his best start afterwards. I want every start from now on to be his best start in a Yankee uniform because it'll one-up his last one and it'll give us a chance to win a championship.
Yeah, well, another key to that start was the fact it wasn't just a fastball slider because I think teams were getting a little comfortable on that because they knew that he's predominantly a 2-pitch pitcher. Once he started mixing in that changeup, it gave them a different look. And then he really started to really attack with fastballs and sliders. It really helped that he had a bigger pitch arsenal. So I would say in future starts, I'd like to see a little bit more of that changeup. He also mixed in a cutter at one point, which was really good.
Yep.
So all his pitches were working, man.
Yeah, no, Rodon was definitely feeling every one of his pitches. He was locating them. He was hitting the spots that he wanted to. What really made his slider and his cutter so effective was when you look at the swing and misses that he had. I mean, he had them really chasing that slider outside the zone like we would normally see from the Yankees during the year. We were in that drought where they were just swinging, just hoping to make contact. That's what he made Cleveland do. And when, as a pitcher, when you're able to have your pitches look that deceptive, then there's no reason for concern about anything going forward with him. And I do expect him to. I think now we're going to see with Rodon. He's like, all right, the calm mentality and is going to work for me. I don't need to be the bulldog and getting all amped up and hyping everybody. I can hype everybody up with just being quiet and just executing my game. So I expect him to follow up with it. Like Rob said, now do better. And Rodon, I think, can be that guy where the next outing can be that outing where, like, wow, we thought game 1 was good. Did you see last night? I think Rodon does have that in this postseason mentality.
And we need it because that's how you win in the playoffs. Good pitching is going to beat good hitting every day. And we need it because I don't know what we're going to get out of Clark Schmidt. Hopefully he just gives us a solid Clark Schmidt type of start where he keeps in the game, goes 5 or 6, and he'll probably allow a couple of runs. But that's usually what he does every time out there. I don't know what to expect out of Luis Gil because he hasn't pitched in a while. So I'm a little bit concerned there because we saw the last time he took a little. Well, when he came back from the injury, he was electric. But when they skipped a start for him in the past, he was all over the place. So I don't know what to expect out of Luis Gil. But we need Rodon and Cole to be at their best because that means at 2 games out of a best-of-7 series, we've got a very good chance to win. So that's what I want to see out of Rodon. That's what I want to see out of Cole. Those 2 guys specifically have to be at their best. Whereas with Schmidt, you need him to do what he usually does, and you kind of just hold your breath with Gil because, again, the time off that he's had, I don't know what to expect out of him with his command issues. He could go out there and give you 6 beautiful shutout innings and strike out a dozen, or he can walk like 6. That's kind of the in-between with him right now.
Fats, I agree. I think he'll be fine as long as he doesn't lose a strike zone. That's his key, man. His stuff is no hit. Luis Gil's stuff is no hit. He was the second best starter for the Yankees. In fact, for a long time, he was our best starter. So I don't want the Yankees to forget about him. I'm looking forward to seeing him pitch. So, yeah, let's talk about a couple of things. I want to talk about the bullpen depth. Has actually surprised me because we haven't seen any Cousins. We haven't really seen much of Canely. And these guys are great. We got Hamilton we haven't seen much of, and his stuff is pretty good too. There's a lot of guys that we haven't even used yet, which speaks to how good our starting pitching has been by and large. You know, we've seen Garrett Cole have a great start. We have Rodon, who's had a great start. And Clark Schmidt had a really good start his last outing. So they're getting plenty of length. And it's really just a case of just getting to the 7th, 8th, and 9th. And to be honest, Luke Weaver's good for 2 innings because that's one of the benefits to having a Luke Weaver in there where he's really good for 5, 6 outs comfortably. So our bullpen's been shortened, and it's just a case now where Cleveland's massive advantage going in was their bullpen. That's the one thing that they have over the Yankees is their really crazy bullpen depth. But it's not been the case this so far because the Yankees overall their pitching has been much better. Their starting pitching is so much better than the Guardians' starting pitching. It's not even funny. And then when you got like a Luke Weaver and you got a Clay Holmes that's doing their job, then we haven't even needed to go into other guys like Canely and Hamilton and Cousins, who are all really good in their own right. So it speaks a lot to the Yankees bullpen. I think the Yankees bullpen's underrated, if anything.
Yeah, got it, Rob.
I wasn't talking.
Oh no, I was gonna pass it to you to go first.
Oh, okay. The fact that we've been able to avoid Clase in a bottom of the 9th situation is very important because Cleveland's got a really good team. I know they're down 0-2 and they haven't looked great, but that team did win. They won 94, right? Mm-hmm. Or they won 93. They won a lot of
93,
games.
They were a game behind us.
Right, and that's a great division with the exception of, I said this yesterday, take away the worst team in baseball history. That's a really good division in the Central. All of a sudden, that's a strength, the AL Central. So they had to play tough to win that division. That's still a damn good team over there. And their bullpen is a strength, but like Donald said, we've been able to kind of take that and make it our strength. Because if you would have asked a lot of people, like you said, what does Cleveland have over the Yankees? Like, it's the bullpen, because they've got probably the best closer in the game right now in Clase. Yeah. Hasn't been a factor because we haven't let it become a factor. And I think that's what's been important. And our bullpen has been, and some people would say, it's going to be the doom for us and it's going to cause us to lose the series. Our bullpen's been fantastic. Even a guy like Tim Hill came in yesterday and got key outs after the day before he gave up a run. The fact that Boone went right back to him and he got us a 1-2-3 inning and everyone was like, oh, why is Tim Hill in there? And he got us out of that clean inning. Like that was insane. And Canely looked great. Like you said, we haven't seen Cousins. We haven't seen Hamilton. I think he was warming up yesterday, but we haven't had to use him. So this was brought up a little bit ago in the chat. We're in a good position bullpen-wise. Gregory said it. Bullpen is in a good position for 3 straight games in Cleveland. The way Boone has managed his bullpen, it goes back to an earlier point. 1,000% his best managed postseason because the bullpen is set for 3 straight games. They're in a very good spot because we haven't had to use a lot of key guys. So our bullpen has been incredibly surprising, and it all had to do with one simple switch, and that was taking Clay Holmes out of that closer role. Ever since then, the bullpen has been clicking.
Thank you, God!
It's amazing, isn't it? Listen, when it comes to the bullpen, I think what's really been a key factor is it ties into the length from the starters, because we've really only had to rely on in these 2 games was Heel, Holmes, and Weaver. You know, we brought in Canely yesterday. He was a part of it, but those have been the guys that have been kind of tapped on the shoulder to handle things, and they've done it. You take that interference away from Heel in game 1, it's a totally different look on Hill. So I don't think that was really he was there waiting, to receive the play. He wasn't expecting. Yeah, who anticipated him turning the base? I didn't on a simple, grounded to the outfield. Usually the batter just runs to the first base and runs through. So it's I can't really get on Tim Hill for that, but I think the bullpen that's where we are now having the advantage because our guys are ready to go at a moment's notice, where Cleveland has had to go through all these layers and are just not. They just might be worn down. And Rob, I think you made the best point up so far. We've avoided having Class A having to come into a game. I think that's been a huge factor in getting those tack-on runs at the end of a game.
We're just not being down in the ninth. I don't want to be in a situation where we have to be losing 2-1 or 3-2 in the ninth, and we're dealing with Class A because the guy's absolutely insane. He's a stud. And there's a reason why so many Yankee fans were hoping we traded for him before the season when it looked like Cleveland might be blowing it up a bit. But that's the guy you got to avoid.
Yeah. Does it surprise anybody that he hasn't gone to Class A to kind of like stop the bleeding in the late innings and put a little faith in his offense to put up a run where Class A could just stay in and finish the job? Because I actually think it is surprising that he hasn't used that weapon yet.
Well, they've been down by 3 runs at least each time. So had the game stayed 3-2, you probably would have saw Class A come in. But when they made it 4-2 and then Judge made it 6-2, I didn't think there was really a point.
Came out of the equation. Okay.
Yeah. They took him out. They took him out of the equation. Aaron Judge took him out of the equation with that home run. He's like, all right, we're not letting you use this guy. So he sent one over the wall. So
one thing I'm confident about though is if it's a tight game, if it's like a tie game, or even if they're up after into the 7th, I wouldn't be surprised if they go right into Class A because he's not been used at all this series, and he's probably they're probably going to want to do that. But it's a good point. But by and large, I think one of the benefits from the three of us being old as fuck is we've seen the Yankees for a long time, right? So my question to you guys is, in a postseason situation, when is the last time the Yankees have had this much depth in the starting rotation plus a bullpen which you feel pretty good about most of the arms coming out of the bullpen? When was the last time that you can really, when put both things together, when was the last time that we could feel that we've had this much depth?
2009.
Probably that, like the 2009, even 2010, it was pretty much the same team.
Yeah.
Pitching-wise. Pettit was still around for the next couple of years. And Burnett struggled terribly those last 2 years, but probably 2009, 2010, I really felt like that was the last time. Because we still had Mo, we still had D-Rob, we still had an electric back end of the bullpen. So
Phil Hughes was still a factor.
Yeah, Damaso Marte in 2009 was outstanding for some odd reason. The guy was terrible, and then he was absolutely nails in the playoffs. But probably then. But if you want to avoid 2009, you want to take it back. Obviously it'd be 98 because you couldn't touch that bullpen in 98, 99. That dynasty, that bullpen was disgusting. But that's when the Yankees win, is when they have a really good bullpen. They've got good starting pitching. And we know 98 starting pitching was unfair. It's like Pettit, Cone, Wells, El Duque. I mean, come on. Who wants to deal with that? 2009, we had to go to 3 starters because Chen-Ming Wang was hurt, and the rest of the rotation wasn't reliable. We had to use Job out of the bullpen because of that. So I would say probably 90, 98 or 2000, that dynasty era was the last time you really felt that confident because we had 4 starters that can go. This time we have 4. We have 3 right now. I don't know if we have 4. We got to see what Heel does, but probably the dynasty years.
And that speaks to how strong we've been. in the postseason. That's why we are where we are, where we've won every game bar one, despite struggling with runners in scoring position, despite our base running mistakes. It's not been a big deal because our pitching has been that freaking good. And even when we have an off start with maybe Garrett Cole only giving you 4, it's still not a big deal because of how good our bullpen has been. So that really speaks to the depth that we have. So I think it's a credit to the way the Yankees have built this thing. And we're so close. We're 2 games away, baby. We're 2 games away. What up, Joe Shane Train? He wants Tanaka back. Don't know where Tanaka would exactly fit with the way that this rotation is set, but appreciate you anyway. I wish Sasaki comes to New York. Well, we'll deal with that when we get to the off season, but let's focus on this roster as it stands because we are just 2 games away from the World Series, the first World Series appearance since 2009. Can I repeat that? It's the first time. We're so close. Let's just get it. Let's get it over the line. Let's get it over the line.
Especially the last postseason appearance, we got our asses kicked in 4 games, man. We didn't even get a chance to get excited for the postseason. To jump out to the start that we have has been pretty fun. But and I'm also looking at this other comment here from the Joe Shane train where we would not have needed Yamamoto. Let's see where that story goes before we start wishing, because Yamamoto hasn't lit the world on fire. I think the one that we missed out on was Flaherty. I'll give you that.
Yamamoto looked great. He looked. He obviously got hurt, but when he was pitching, he was phenomenal. Did he not pitch a really good game to clinch that series?
No. I'm not downplaying Yamamoto. I'm saying I would have rather, when you look at the outings overall, I think Flaherty had the better outing than Yamamoto. I think that was the player that we missed out on.
I mean, if you want to go back and say who we missed, we missed out on Corbin Burns. Yeah. We missed out on Dylan Cease. We missed out on Yamamoto.
Let's stay on.
We're way off topic, and
I do want to wish luck to Severino tonight, though, because even though he sucked for us at the end of his Yankee tenure, he's still one of my favorite Yankees. So I wish him the best of luck tonight.
He's been great. Let's quickly talk Game 3 before we sign off.
Yes.
What's the thoughts?
I think I'm expecting a little more patience at the plate from Cleveland. I think the key pieces to kind of keep off balance will always continue to be Ramirez, and I think Rocchio needs to be silenced a little bit. He's feeling himself right now. He's been playing very good baseball, so I think Rocchio is one of those guys because he can. Even if he doesn't get on base, he's gonna see 10, 12 pitches. So I'd like to shut him down a little sooner in the at bats.
Pizza Manetti. Yeah, we do get home field advantage if it's Yankees Mets. If it's Yankees Dodgers, then we don't. Dodgers had a better record. I believe it goes by better record now. The All-Star game doesn't matter anymore.
No.
Yeah. Just win. I don't care how. We know who we have to neutralize on that team. We know who we have to have step up on our team. Just go win. Do whatever it takes to win. And I'm saying it. You got to be the aggressor. Step on their fucking throats and end this thing as soon as possible. Don't give them any reason to have a thought of coming back. Because if you do that, they will make you pay for it. That's a very good team. Step on their throats. Kick them while they're down. That's what we have to do.
100%. They're on the ropes right now. They're dazed. Let's finish off. What we really need is to focus on taking one in Cleveland, and we're really set up for the series. But the ideal scenario is to get this done ASAP, because then we can have exactly the pitching set up for the World Series, because it would be an imminently more difficult World Series, that's for sure. But we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, as Aaron Boone rightfully said. So let's just focus on one game at a time. So there's so much to be positive about. And by and large, we haven't even talked about Big G in this particular episode. We talked a lot about Big G in our post game with me and Rob. Big G has been just amazing. Just what a hero. The guy's been an absolute hero. So, and another thing, Juan Soto, man. Juan Soto has been doing his job. He's always getting on base. So, a lot of good things. A lot of good things. So let's get this done. Let's get this done. Get this over the line, baby. Let's go. Let's go.
I think that is the key. Just we have 3 games. If we're able to avoid coming back to the Bronx, it's freaking awesome. But just get one in Cleveland. I think Schmidt's gonna have his hand. I don't want to say he's gonna. I think Schmidt can navigate this team really well, but I think they're gonna give him a headache. I think it's gonna be a lot of tough at bats. But if Schmidt can last into the 5th inning, I would feel extremely confident in the outcome of the game. Because again, you have a very well rested pen to come and just take over and get the outs from there on.
Pizza Soto is priceless. There isn't a price on the head that is too much for Juan Soto. Generational, and he's shown it this playoffs. He's been absolutely amazing. Amazing. Pay him $1 billion.
Yep. And Jared, to your question, if it's Yankees Dodgers, the Dodgers have home field. They're the only team that had a better record than us that even entered the playoffs. So to answer that question, but we'll see. We do have the off day tonight, but we will be back on Friday breaking down everything that has happened in the action. So with that, I mean, like Rob said, also with tonight's game with the Mets, I agree with Rob. I want to see Severino do well. He was one of our guys. So good luck to Severino and bad luck to everybody else. But with that being said, just hit that like button, hit that sub button, share this out with your friends, your family. The Strange Around the Corner. This has been the Pinstripe Chronicles. This is where fans become family. So wear those pinstripes of pride and play hard.